Welcome to the Ridgecrest Lost and Found podcast. It's a show where we talk about all kinds of random things, except at this point, it's really not that random because we tend to have things that we focus on and not focus on. My name's Logan.
I'm Steven. And also, with the context of this podcast, is random really random anymore? Because random is what you expect.
So, before we introduce our guest, I have a new pet peeve that's growing in my pet peeve list. It's my in-laws, shout out Roland and Jenny H. Whenever I start a conversation, he may do this to you. When you start a conversation, if he's not ready for the conversation, it doesn't matter what it is, he'll go, wow, that's so random. And I'm like, yeah, because when you start any conversation, it's random because you're starting a new conversation. But he kind of looks at you and he's like, wow, you just asked a random thing. Like, that was so weird. I'm like, that's how conversations start, is you just say them.
Is it that? So you're saying it's like his thing he says when he's not prepared, and it's like his go-to, like, I want out of this conversation kind of deal?
It's like his let me think for a second. You think that's what it is?
Yeah.
It's definitely
or just
partly that.
I have nothing to add to this, so I'm just going to be like...
We do have lots of those conversations
Yeah.
where I bring something up and he's like, I don't care.
I feel like most people have those, like, wow, I love that, or wow, that's crazy.
Yeah,
You
that's
know?
a great question.
Yeah.
Anyway, this is Jordan. Jordan 2's here. He's our guest today. How's it feel?
It's great. I can relate to everything you just said because as someone who worked for your father-in-law for quite a number of years, I've been given that look many a times.
Yes, it is definitely a look. Jordan, we're glad that you're here. We're going to get into it. We have life experience together, but you also have experience with the church, Ridgecrest.
I do.
So we'll get in that as part of your background. Well, we can just go ahead and get into it. You can take 3 seconds. You can take 3 hours. Who are you? Where do you come from? What do you do now?
So I come right from here in Madison, like a lot of us, a lot of these guys that have been through. Grew up right here in Madison, went through all the schools. I actually went to the old Madison station that was just down the road that they've recently torn down, went there. Born and raised in Madison, came here in Ridgecrest. My family had gone here my grandmother was a staple here for as long as I can remember. This is my dad's church for the first 40 years of his life. And then when I was about middle school, we transitioned over to Broadmoor, which is where I'm at now, and never left. Been where I've done worked my whole way up. Like, I was a student in the college ministry. Then I was like, hey, do you guys need an intern? I'd love to help out with stuff because I knew I wanted to do student ministry. They're like, yeah, sure. And then I was an intern. They're like, we had an opening. I'm like, can I apply for the opening? They're like, sure. And then I got it. And then I haven't left. So, but yes, great fond memories, like Vacation Bible School, everything right here at Ridgecrest. Good memories.
I also was raised in this church and never left, and pretty much climbed up the ladder.
But you did have a stint as an intern at Broadmoor.
I was still interning here. I was interning at both churches.
Oh,
Did they both know that?
They did, because the Broadmoor internship was for college. Because I had a college internship class, and so I worked with Michael because they, for some reason, they didn't want me to do it here because I'd already worked here. I don't know. But, yeah, I was working both.
There you go. When I was, what was your major at MC?
Christian. I started out as a communications major early on in college, and then through a mutual friend of ours who had given me that advice to maybe do communications if you weren't sure. But then halfway through, this is a true story. I went to Mississippi College my first semester. My second class I took was a computer science class, and that first day I thought I'd missed a full year's worth of stuff. He started writing binary on the board, and I thought, this is a advanced course that I have missed the first part of. Hated it so much that I literally was like, why am I in here? And it was a communications requirement. And so I was like, at this point, I was already pretty much had started conversations about doing ministry. So I was like, I went to my advisor, like, hey, I'm just going to switch to Christian studies. Loved it, but I still finished with a minor in communications and then a focus in ministry.
The reason I said that was because when I was doing business, I realized my senior year that our business office has an internship program, and I walked in there because I heard that you could get an hour or two from working. I was like, I've been working at Broadmoor for 3 years. I bet you they can get me out of an elective I have to take. And I walk in there, and I don't know if this is how it normally goes, but she was like, hey, this sounds great. You just have to explain how you're using business principles in your work. And I was like, we do a budget. She's like, done. That's all we need. She's like, how many hours do you want? And I was like, how many can I get? She's like, how many do you need? I was like, 8. She went, perfect. We'll give you 8 this semester. And I was like, oh my gosh. It was awesome. So like I got
It's
half
like you
my.
found a cheat code for college.
It was fantastic. It was crazy.
The American education
It
system.
may not have been 8. It was probably 6. But it was like I was expecting 3, and I got way more than that. It was probably 6. Probably 2.
It is funny for how like crazy when you think about like colleges and stuff, and then you kind of get into the weeds, and you're like, wow, some of that doesn't seem official at all.
No.
Like my last semester of MC, they came and like, shout out to MC, they didn't tell me until like a month before graduation that one of my qualifications didn't transfer from home, so I was like technically an hour short of graduation. And thankfully my advisor came through and was like, hey, I talked to him, I just need you to read this book and meet with me twice, and it qualifies as a credit. I was like, well, that doesn't seem official at all.
No.
But I'll go with it if it gets me a diploma.
Did you have any issues transferring? Because you transferred into MC.
Yeah, I had no issues at all.
I've talked to so many people. Like I can probably think of 5, which is a lot, that have had issues transferring community college credits to Mississippi College. And I don't know if that's a Mississippi College issue or if that's a community college issue or if just being a transfer student, you have issues. I've just heard of so many people where that's been the case.
Yep, it's interesting.
So nuts. So yeah, you started off here. You still have family here.
Mm-hmm.
They're fantastic.
Yep.
Went to Broadmoor, hung out at Broadmoor for a while. We kind of went through the same path. Went Mississippi or Madison Central, Mississippi College. Did you finish seminary?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Look at that.
Yep.
Did Extension Center.
Yep.
Rocked it.
Mm-hmm.
And now, what is your title at Broadmoor?
I'm the middle school associate, so I'm with 6th, 7th, and 8th graders.
It's so interesting now, and I guess now it's just such the norm. It used to be you would say like, "Hey, I'm a student." People would say, "What do you do?" I'm a student pastor. Go, "Oh, that's cool," or whatever. And now the first question I get post that question is, "So do you do high school or middle school or what?" And I go, "I do all of them." They're like, "Oh, wow!" It's like the split of middle school and high school is just so prevalent now,
Mm-hmm.
which is so great.
Yeah.
I mean,
Well, it's one of those things too. It's like I tell people one of the reasons I do, because usually if you ask somebody if they want to do student ministry, if you tell them, if you send them to middle school, most people are turning around and running as far away as possible. But one of the great things for me, at least, that I've always found in my years of doing it is like, yes, I have them for technically the shortest amount of time of any of our next gen areas, but officially I have them for 3 years under my watch care, so to speak. But really, for me, because I'm at least, it depends on the person. For me, at least, I feel like I have them for 7 because it's like I'm not going to stop caring about a student
and they're
or
around.
supporting them and stuff like that just because they go to high school. Like honestly, if anything, a lot of times my relationships get better with kids as they get into high school because they do go to those more things. They do more sporting events or more extracurricular stuff that you can attend and stuff like that. So I tell people officially I'm the middle school associate. On the whole, I love them all. So
the thing that I tell people, because we probably get the same responses, we're like, "Hey, you want to hang out with middle schoolers?" And they're like, "Heck no." I've had a lot of people say that they're intimidated by middle schoolers, that like they scare them, they don't know what to do. And what I tell them is, hey, you're going to have to do the front end work. Like you're going to have to go talk, unless you just have one of those crazy like 7th grade girls that'll just talk to anybody. But that's rare. Usually you have to do the kind of the front game stuff. But the crazy thing about middle school is if you hang out with them for like 2 Wednesdays in a row and talk to them and remember who they are, they will think that you're a superhero and they will love you forever.
Yep.
And like when they're 21 and they're at state and they think back, they're going to be like, "I remember Mr. So-and-so. He was awesome."
Yep.
And that's just how middle school is fantastic.
Yeah, that's what I tell people. Like the thing about middle schoolers is you will never meet a more authentic group of kids. Like whatever they are in that moment, if they're crazy and off the wall, that is them. If they are as polite and sweet as possible, like that, like a middle schooler will be the most brutally honest kid you've ever met in your life.
Yes.
Especially as someone who's still single and lives by myself and like has middle schoolers giving me dating advice every week. It's just like, man, you guys believe what you're saying, and I appreciate it. I'm not gonna listen to it all the time, but I'm appreciate it.
They will let you know, and they're great bullcrap detectors. I mean,
Very
like,
much
if you
so.
come in there fake and like just trying to put on stuff, they will call you out.
They remember stuff.
Yeah.
Like if you even hit, that's why like I'm very clear to be like if I know I can make something, I'm definitely gonna be there. But if there's any of the slightest, I may not be able to make that.
Yep.
Don't even give them that because they will remember and be like, "Hey, you said you were coming." I'm like, "Sorry."
Things happen sometimes. That's wild. Stephen, if you had to move into middle school ministry on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being like you would go to a mental institution, 10 being you would take Jordan's job, how do you think you would do as a middle school minister?
10 being I would take Jordan's job, 1 being mental
I
institution.
feel like that's a good explanation of the rankings.
Am I the only person working, like the only staff member working with middle school?
Jordan is not that way, but in this scenario, yes, you are the middle school minister.
I did it for a while by myself.
You did. That is very true.
I am not the kind of person to head that kind of ministry. I'd be great in a supportive role in that kind of ministry because there are certain kids that I can really connect with, but I cannot be the one, frontlining the energy, keeping up with them. Couldn't do it.
So if you found your like niche of middle school boys, you would be like, these are my guys.
Yeah,
We're gonna hang
I think
out.
so. I think so.
You know who was great at that? He's great at a lot of things. Tyler Holland.
I saw a picture of them the other day, and I was like just thinking back, like their kids are all like their youngest one that they had they just had when they moved. She's like older now, looks just like their oldest that was there at the time. Like it's crazy. Yep.
Shout out Tyler. Tyler was the middle school pastor.
I was an intern.
Yeah,
I was an intern with him I was a small group leader for him for about a year, and then I was an intern with him for about 4 months, and then he felt called to go to another church, and so
he was great.
Yep.
He was one of those where like you just look at him and you're like, you know what you'd be good at? Middle school ministry. And he did great.
Yep. Great.
He was bald. He was the biggest nerd. He liked sports. His wife was very into sports and doing
I
stuff.
think I remember him.
You probably did. You were probably around when he was there because he was at Broadmoor for a minute.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And he's been gone for a minute.
Either that or my sisters may have been in middle school around his time, something like that.
He's great.
Yeah.
He's not dead. I always say
That's
it's like
good.
he's no longer.
He had a good
considered
run.
dead.
He's moved on.
One time I was doing announcements and on a Sunday morning, and it was Michael's birthday, and Michael had just started, and he was as the pastor, and for some reason I went, hey, happy birthday, Michael. It's been a good run. You did great. And Michael's just standing there, and it just so came across like I was saying, like, you're fired. Please get out of here. Like, it was great. And so I just ended up on stage just kind of doing this. I don't know what to do, and I'm just clapping. Eventually I just go, okay, see you later. I just walk off the stage. It was a good time.
We've gotten a lot better here about handling our stage time and
Yes.
knowing who to give it to and who not to give it to.
Yes. Yeah, you just know that when Logan has the mic, words are going to come out,
Yeah.
and sometimes it's going to be good. We're going to get the point across.
Yeah.
And we're going to have a good time with it.
Yeah.
Let's see. We should do an icebreaker since we've been talking for 14 minutes
Excellent.
already. How long's it been?
13 minutes.
I'm so good at this.
You're getting really good at this.
Jordan, explain to the listeners and to us your new obsession with pickleball and why should we consider pickleball a true sport?
So, gosh, at this point, I feel like it's not even like a new thing for me. At this point, it's probably been probably almost a year now, which sounds like that just saying that sounds like it's like a weird thing that I'm just really close with. It's like we've been in a relationship for a year type thing. But no, so for me personally, it is like I was like a lot of people, I'm sure, like, okay, let's see how this goes. I'm sure it'd be maybe fun to hit around. But for whatever reason, it's just one of those, it really is one of those things, like the first time I did it, I was like, oh, this is fun. And like, I need to be back out here like tomorrow and do this. And for me personally, so my mom still plays tennis. My mom to this day still plays in like a 55 and up. Yep. She went to like 3 tennis tournaments the past month in different states. Like if there was one sport I could go back and play more of, it would have just stuck with tennis more. Cause I did the lessons and everything while she was always playing. But I did basketball more and things like that. But, so as someone who is decent at tennis, not great, decent, I can get over the net, and then decent at ping pong, but my strengths and weaknesses in both perfectly mash into pickleball. And for me, it's just like it really is fun. Like if you get some people out there, and there's plenty of different ways. Like I think that's the thing too that I've like recently gotten into is like mixing and matching ways to play with, like against each other. Like you can play a singles match. It's a lot of running, but like I've learned more and more. Like I saw it on Instagram through like drills and stuff, but like different ways of playing. If you, so I think it's, I can't remember what it's called, but it's basically when you play one-on-one against somebody, you take turns. If you get the point, you play either head on, or it's supposed to be a drill to help you practice where you're hitting it into the specific square, but it just totally throws a new dynamic in there and stuff like that. And so, it is quite a lot of fun for me. And it does, yes, there's versions that I can get a sweat in, or I can be about to pass out because of how much I've like gone how
Yeah,
hard
you
I've
can
gone
very
at
much
this
up or lower the intensity level.
based on who you're playing against. That is correct.
I saw a reel or short or something, and it was a guy showing, it was a doubles, and he was showing different kinds of screens, but in the way of like, can you imagine a pickleball court in your mind, Steven?
Never seen a game of pickleball played.
But do you know, like,
No.
imagine a miniature tennis court, more or less.
Yep.
And
It's played on one. It's technically like out of Lake Caroline, which is where we usually play. It is played on one side of the net.
Okay.
Same.
Gotcha.
What they were doing is, so you would hit kind of a little dinker, it just kind of barely goes over the net into a zone, and the guy who's not hitting the ball would stand and block the view of the guy, of his teammate who's hitting it. He would stand in between the teammate and the net, and then at the last minute he spins out of the way. So next thing you know, there's just a yellow ball coming at your face. And he showed different ways of doing it, and I was like, we're getting into like
Strategies,
deep level.
formations. Yeah.
It's very, because some people at this point, most people realize, but a lot of people don't know pickleball's been around forever.
Yeah.
It was just like when you replaced both your knees and your hip was going out and you were 80, you would go play pickleball instead of tennis.
Yeah.
And it's just exploded.
Mm-hmm.
And now we're.
I think that maybe I think that was you, maybe you that brought up the conversation. Like, is pickleball here to stay? Like, it's kind of it's the trendy thing right now, and like I think it's got some legs to it. I think it'll be around for a minute.
I think it will go the way CrossFit has gone. I think it will take the world by storm for 5-7 years,
and then it'll be kind of a norm.
And then it'll be like you, let's say, like you're locked in, but the general population will move on to the next thing.
Mm-hmm.
I think it will gather its crowd and it'll keep that crowd. But then right now, everyone's playing it.
Yep.
I don't think that'll last,
Yep.
but I don't think it's going to die by any means. So it's very interesting.
Yep. Very.
And lots of people are getting injured, which is hilarious.
Yeah.
I mean, we've had people rip their ACL, rip their calf, like throw their back out, all kinds of fun stuff.
Yeah.
Who, and you can feel free to say yourself. I'm opening this to you. Who is the best pickleball player on staff at Broadmoor?
So it would probably, I would say it's a tie because we have played each other and we're probably split as me and our next gen pastor, Sean Selman, whose son, shout out to my boy Keenan, freshman at State, is the one that introduced me to pickleball last year. And he's like, so Sean's son is fantastic. He's trying to work it out. He's trying to play for Mississippi State's team. Like,
They have a club team?
they do. It's only got like 4 people on it, I think. But he got me a Mississippi State pickleball shirt recently. So a few weeks ago, I actually went up to see a bunch of them, and we went to a park, and they had like 8 courts maxed out. I mean, there's probably over 100 people there, and it's just like you're hopping on new courts and everything. They introduced me as a graduate student because
Just to get you in there?
one of the guys was like, hey man, what classes you in? I'm like, I'm a graduate student. Like, I do stuff. But yeah, so Keenan has he's got like a $200 something paddle. Like he's like to the nines. Like he's everything. And so Sean is kind of the same way. Sean plays with him a lot. So me and Sean have split a lot of games with each other. It would probably be a tie between us. So funny story. You're familiar with Tanglewood. You've been to Camp Tanglewood. So a few weeks ago we had our staff retreat up there, and we played. We brought a net, paddles, and we basically introduced it to our staff. And there was a lot of people that picked it up real quick, which, they said it was their first time. I don't know, but I'll take their word for it. We had a lot of great first timers and a lot of bad first timers.
Yes.
But to your point, a lot of injuries. Of
course we did. Of course we did. My hardest time with pickleball, because the first couple times I played it, no one explained the rules. So it was just ping pong life sized. And then when they start explaining the kitchen and was it a dink and all that, that's when it got so incredibly complicated for like 3 games.
There's layers to it. It depends on who's teaching you.
Right.
So, because to me, the biggest thing people do when explaining the rules is they try and do it all in one sitting.
Which is what happens.
Because what really throws people is the scoring and how you pronounce the scoring. Because it's like 2-2-1 is the score, and that throws people for a loop. I always tell people, let's just play. You let me worry about the scoring. And because really the third number in the scoring is just who is serving.
Yeah, the position. And
once you get that wrapped around your head, that's an easy part.
And that's what we ended up doing is I was like, look, I'm going to play. You tell me when I've done something wrong, and we'll just pick it up this way. And I'll give you the game. It doesn't matter who wins. Just hit
it over the net.
Yes. And for I think 3 games, I was all over the net. I mean, I was in the kitchen, and they were like, "Hey, turns out you can't do that." And I was like, "Okay, now we know." And we just back out. We figure it out. We got to let it bounce. All the things. It's a good time.
Yeah.
But so, how like there were like legit injuries, or like, oh, I tweaked something.
So, Richard, my compadre, our middle school pastor, he didn't actually like, dislocate his finger, but it's like later that afternoon, after we played in the morning, and that afternoon we were supposed to do this like self-reflective thing that we had to like write all these answers out, and we met to talk about them. And he was like, "Well, I didn't actually write all mine down, but I kind of took mental notes." I was like, "Well, why'd you do that?" And he showed me his finger, and his finger was just kind of like shaking, like really aggressively. I was like, "Yeah, you're probably going to get that looked at when we get back." Sean, aforementioned next gen pastor, slipped, and the at Tanglewood, the chapel or the whatever you call it, the basketball where the basketball courts are, real slick. So he slipped, feet went out from under him, landed on his tailbone. We thought he got knocked out because he had neck issues the next morning, which he realized was because of the fall. So the funniest though, and I hate that I missed it, but apparently Mike Haight, our worship pastor, got discombobulated when he was going to get the ball, or slipped and fell, and as he went to turn to like get up or go get the ball, ran square into one of those metal poles that holds the awning up, and apparently it made the most comical sound. And it's to one of my biggest regrets that I wasn't there to witness it, but apparently it kind of knocked him for a loop for a second. It was pretty funny.
I would imagine a giant steel beam hitting you in the head.
So
that's awesome.
Yeah,
glad that a third of the Broadmoor staff got injured.
Yep.
You know, that's what we hope for.
Yep.
From a staff retreat. That's wild. So what I wanted to do today is you went from semi-famous just in your world to semi-famous locally. I'm just making stuff up because on Instagram during COVID, wasn't it?
Correct.
You had a Instagram story review series on all Disney movies.
Mm-hmm. A lot of different movies like Star Wars, Marvel, Harry Potter.
I saw parts of the Marvel and parts of the Disney. I forgot about the Marvel one, which a Marvel one would be interesting because you and me aren't just you're pretty deep in Marvel.
I was.
Yeah.
I fell out with Infinity War. Endgame was fine. I lied. I hated Endgame.
Wow.
Yeah.
He has
Endgame's my favorite personally.
Wow. Okay.
Oh man, it was like 10 years of literally what all I'd hoped it for to be, and then it was. And like in the moment, I was like,
you have more optimism in you, and he
That's
has
fair.
a lot more cynicism.
It takes a lot for me to like, even in like you, and we'll talk about like rankings and stuff. Even if I rank something low, if it's like Harry Potter or any Disney or like, it takes a lot for me to not like something. Like I loved the sequel trilogy for Star Wars. I know that's sacrilege to some people, but like, I mean, do I like it as much as the others? No, but I still enjoy it.
Yeah.
So, not every decision I would have made, but I still
was an
enjoy
English writing minor in college. I enjoy writing, so a bad script's a bad script. That's why I don't like Endgame.
This is why we're going to have this conversation.
There you go.
So what we're going to do is we're going to go through Jordan's list of Disney movies.
Yeah.
And then what I feel like we would do is let Jordan give his analysis, his grade, and his explanation, however you want to say it. And then Steven will get first response. You can agree, you can disagree. You just give comment, and we'll go from there. Okay. We won't have to make it take 6 hours, but we can talk about it as far as we want to. We'll go down rabbit holes, whatever. Is there something that you wanted to say about how you made your list?
Yeah. So basically, here's people get really agitated with me that don't, because this is all in fun. Like I'm not one of these like gatekeepers that like if you disagree with me, then you're not a true fan. Like I hate that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Like to me, every opinion, if you like it, great. It's not my cup of tea, but great. And so as I was doing it started with the Marvel. Like people liked it. They're like, oh, these are great. Like all the things. Then it's like when I kicked it over to like Harry Potter, then I started getting really passionate responses.
Yes.
And then Disney was just like some people thought I'd like kick their dog, like because it's like you just like. But my thing is, to me, everybody's like, "Oh, how can you not say that? That's a great movie. That's an A+ and stuff." Like to me, there are select few A+, because that devalues. We can't give everything an A and an A+ because that like so. Spoiler alert: Lion King is my favorite Disney movie. It is one of the best. It is an A+ to me. If I give Dumbo an A+ just because you thought it was cute when you were a kid, that devalues Lion King more so than elevates Dumbo.
And there is a conversation to be had about sentimentality, sentiment, What's the right way to say that?
Sentimentality.
Nostalgia and nostalgia.
Nostalgia
thing.
and
Yeah.
sentimentality. Yeah, that's their
That-
entire brand.
You either have to let that play a part,
Literal.
but not be the entire part, or you have to eliminate it completely.
Yeah.
You can't just say nostalgia can't be the whole reason why a movie's good.
But at the same time, I mean, do you put nostalgia in the same camp as sentimentality? To where, like, for example, what's the movie with Chris Pratt and Tom Holland with the two brothers?
Onward.
Onward. You could be a person who
Surprisingly good movie, in
Yeah.
my opinion.
I enjoyed it. You could be a person that movie really speaks to because you have a father figure that's not your actual
Spoilers,
father,
dude.
something like that. And you could be like, yeah, that really resonated with me. That is different, I think, from nostalgia because themes hitting with
You're
a person.
correct. So
Yeah.
what I'm talking about is more nostalgia
Yeah,
and
yeah.
sentimentality. I want to start off. I'm going to tell you, you already gave your favorite movie. I'm going to give my favorites, and then I guess we'll let Steven do it, and then we'll get into our thing. By the way, what's your grading scale?
So
A+ to D?
A+ to F, and I'll run through these really fast. And again, this is not serious in any way. I made this on a day when I was bored. So to me, A+ is best of the best, can't be topped. A is an all-time great. A- is a great classic that falls just short of the absolute best. A B+ is a really good film with little to no flaws. B is a film you can watch at any time and enjoy. B- is a film that has a few flaws but is still on the most part enjoyable. C+ is an average film with more upside than down. C is middle of the road, not necessarily bad, not necessarily great. C-, a film with a number of flaws that hinder the movie. D, not very enjoyable, most likely a one-time watch. F, a miserable viewing experience that you regret sitting down to watch.
I think
That's a multi-point tier list.
I think
Yeah.
that was lovely, first off.
Well, when you have that many Disney movies, I figured it
Yeah,
would be
yeah,
easier
it's-
to give subcategories for the
That's
major
fair.
letters.
That's fair.
Now, don't say what the grades are of what my favorite movies are.
Okay.
And then don't say the same for Steven, because we'll
Yeah.
get into it as we go. Without really thinking about it, my favorite Disney movie is Aladdin.
That's a good pick.
My favorite newer Disney movie is probably Tangled. I know you'll appreciate
Excellent
that.
pick. Excellent pick.
And then my favorite kind of like, correct me if this is not Disney related at all, Disney adjacent, Big Hero 6.
Mm-hmm.
That is
It's Disney. Yeah.
That is straight up Disney.
Mhm.
Okay. Well, then it's high on my list.
Yeah.
It probably doesn't beat Aladdin. Aladdin there's a lot of nostalgia in me for
Aladdin
Mhm.
is like
and it's got Robin Williams in it.
absolutely. I would probably agree with that list completely.
I would as well.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's
because
exciting.
Big Hero 6 is like, if I was to say like one that I think really resonated with me personally, but probably isn't objectively one of the great films, I would say Big Hero 6. I just love the characters. I love the story. Tangled, I think it's easily the best Disney princess movie. Flynn Rider is a great character.
You said it's a great princess movie. Then you talked about Flynn.
Oh yeah, because it's two different things.
Correct.
Yes.
I thought you were building on what you
No,
said.
it wasn't a build. It was two separate things. I named my dog after Flynn Rider, so yeah. And Aladdin's just a classic.
Mm-hmm. I think Genie's the single best Disney character that
Mhm.
there's ever been in any movie.
Picking between Lion King and Aladdin is tough, but I think Aladdin beats it
Yeah,
because it's a lot more comedic.
I
Then-
think as objectively as a film, I think you can argue Lion King is more iconic is maybe not what I'm looking for, but it's the better film just from a technical or animation standpoint. But I think Aladdin is a more enjoyable watch. I'd watch Aladdin way more.
It's
than
a
I'd watch
great
Lion King.
movie.
Yeah,
Did you watch the live action?
I've watched most of the live actions.
Did you enjoy it? I haven't seen the live action
Aladdin?
Yeah.
I did. I thought it was enjoyable. Like it was a good watch. Like if I was ever bored and I saw it on TV, I'd be
Aren't
like,
they almost a complete remake? Like they're almost the same movie, just live action.
elements,
Yeah.
here and there. I thought for what it was worth, like to have, like you could never have somebody come in and do what Robin Williams did, but I think you had to get a big enough personality. And I thought because I was very much like, because there was a lot of controversy early on when they were like the trailers came out and like, oh, Will Smith looks terrible. Like, but then like as the movie was going, I like found myself like genuinely like laughing at a lot of stuff. I'm like, oh, that's like kind of the same humor that the Robin Williams vibe had. That it was its own thing, but
at the time, Will Smith was about the perfect pick.
Yeah.
Because that was at a time when you couldn't say a lot of bad things about Will Smith, and he was pretty highly thought of in the zeitgeist.
Mm-hmm.
You would have, and they're two completely different directions.
Yeah.
You would have had to go like a Will Smith or like a Jim Carrey.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
Yeah.
you would,
Yeah.
but those are two completely different directions. And I think they went the right direction.
I agree.
Agreed.
All right. How are you ordering this list?
So when I did it, and it's not completely, because there's a few of your early 40s and 50s kind of animated shorts, animated like Three Caballeros and stuff like that I don't have
I wasn't even
listed on
thinking
here.
about those.
Oh yeah, so the list I did was every theatrical Disney release of an animated feature film. Didn't include live actions, and then also included the Disney Pixar, your Monsters Inc., your Finding Nemo, your Toy Stories, all that.
Ratatouille's up there for me.
Oh,
I didn't think about that.
Ratatouille is super high for me.
Yeah.
I didn't think that was in the same ballpark.
No, I would count it.
Yeah, so that's the thing. So you've got your Pixar and your Disney animated movies of the 2010s, your Tangled, your Frozen's, your Big Hero 6, Moana, and then you have your more Pixar ones that have come out in more recent years.
I'm interested to hear what you did Moana with.
Yeah.
What you graded Moana.
Pixar absolutely counts because if like their mainstays at the parks, their mainstays to the brand. So
Okay.
Yeah.
We just got to get into it.
Yeah.
All right. You start.
All right.
We'll give context.
So-
We'll give comment.
So it is funny that we start with this one because I agree with you about the nostalgia and stuff, but I am gonna like contradict myself because it is the first one. So for me, Snow White, I gave an A because for me, that is almost entirely based on nostalgia. Like I love watching Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs because for me, growing up, if I was at my grandmother's house,
What'd you give it?
an A.
Okay.
On the sole basis of nostalgia because I've probably watched that movie more than any other movie in history, and that's not an exaggeration. Like if I was at my grandma's house, we had the clamshell VHS tapes. We were watching that sucker, and when it was over, we were rewinding it and starting it over. Like I loved it. So when I rewatched it a few years ago, I was like, man, like nothing happens in that movie. Nothing happens.
Yeah.
She's cleaning. She runs away. The animals find her. She cleans the dwarf's house. The queen comes to kill her. She dies, and then technically in the post-credit scene, she's kissed, wakes up, and lives happily ever after. Nothing happens in that movie, but it was a great watch because I just have so many fond memories of it, and the dwarves are iconic. Like
The dwarves carry the movie.
absolutely, in rewatching most of these, a lot of the side characters. We'll talk about like Cinderella has the blandest personality of any character in any Disney. The mice absolutely carry that movie. So kind of the same for Snow White. But I gave it an A just because of the fond memories of my grandmother. We would watch it and rewatch it.
I wouldn't go as far as to say bland, but Beauty and the Beast is the same. Your support characters.
Okay, well,
carry a lot.
yes. I would say they do a great
That's
job. Yeah.
we'll
a
get-
lot of
we'll
people
get
would
that.
light your head on fire for saying that Belle is bland.
I said I'm not saying she's bland.
Okay.
He said that
Yes.
Cinderella was bland. I was disagreeing with that part.
I see
More
what
so
you're saying.
the side characters comment. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Give your response.
About Snow White. I think I've only seen it like once, and I don't really have any opinion of it other than like, wasn't it the first?
Mm-hmm. 1937, 1939, I
Yeah,
think.
you
it
can
was-
tell with the animation.
Yeah, it was.
But also though, for it being the first, it's pretty good animation for when you think about like the 30s.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
It's incredible. And now obviously they do restoration stuff over the years and things like that. But
That's about all it is to me. It's a moment in animation history, and that's about it.
I agree. I like you were just giving me a recap of it, and I could remember half of that. I remember the very beginning in the house. I remember the dwarves whistling, walking along the log and stuff, and their little number. And I remember the kiss at the very end. So I wouldn't rate it as high as you, but I think we agree that's why, because
Yeah.
you obviously have seen it way more
Yeah.
than us.
yeah. All right. So and I think this is mostly in chronological order, and we don't have to go through every single one of these because there's a lot. Your next big one is Pinocchio. I gave it a C+. Mainly because it scared the life out of me as a kid. When those kids, first off, they're drinking like alcohol, and they start turning into donkeys. Terrified me as a kid. I'm like, that's gonna happen to me one day. But it's good. Jiminy Cricket absolutely carries the movie.
Yes.
It's fine. A lot of these early historical ones.
Remind me what C+ is?
So C+ is basically it's an average film that has more upside than downside.
I would agree with that.
I think that's fair.
Yep.
Next.
Let's see. Next we
And
have.
just be aware, we're gonna next on some people's movies, and they're gonna be like, "This is the greatest movie ever." So we're fully aware, and we expect comments on that.
We've been going for 30 minutes, and we can't be here for.
We're
gonna
cruise.
Yep.
And we're gonna cruise until we get to our favorites, and then we're gonna talk about them.
Yep. Fantasia, I gave a C. So, are you familiar with?
I didn't love Fantasia.
Because it's basically a 2-hour film of orchestra animated stuff.
Exactly.
I gave it a C solely on the merit of the Sorcerer Mickey short. Like that's iconic. That's one of my favorite like Disney things is Sorcerer Mickey. So
I think for it being, let's just for a children's film, the only thing that brings it out is the Sorcerer's Apprentice from being like a D in my opinion.
Yeah.
What about the Sorcerer's Apprentice live action film with Nicolas Cage? Are we?
I actually never seen it.
I've seen it once.
It's better than average.
I bet.
It is.
I bet. All right, so Dumbo, I gave a C plus. Thoughts?
You're supposed to go first. I keep interrupting.
I have no opinion of Dumbo. Cute character. I don't even know if I've seen the movie. I can't remember.
We had the VHS. I've seen it maybe twice. I remember as a kid, it did nothing for me.
Yeah.
There's like the thing where he first flies like out of the train or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
That's in my memory bank. Other than that, I couldn't tell you what the movie's about.
Yeah.
So the funny thing about it, it is an incredibly depressing movie.
Oh, yeah.
Literally, the only like moments of happiness in that movie is the like he flies into the end, he gets the confidence, swoops in, saves the day, and everybody cheers for him. Literally, the movie ends 5 seconds later. And
the rest is just
he gets separated from his mom. He gets made fun of. They paint him as a clown. Very sad for the most part. But
yeah, that's probably why I didn't watch it again.
Yeah.
next we have the very infamous Bambi, very famous. I gave it a C.
Yep. I couldn't tell you what happened in that movie.
So what's the crazy thing about upon rewatch for Bambi, I totally forgot that there's a second half of that movie where it's like adult Bambi.
Yeah.
I just think of like the little deer baby
Yeah,
Bambi.
you think of like Thumper on the ice pond, and, all that stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, as far as I'm concerned, that movie like pretty much ended when Bambi's mom died. Like
That's what it's most well known for.
Yeah.
That's what it's most well known
But
for.
there's like Jordan said, there's a whole other part of
Yeah.
the movie that comes after that.
yeah.
Yeah.
So that's its legacy is
I think that I'm not saying it should be an A. I put it in that kind of iconic Disney movie class with Snow White. Like the culture of Disney hinged a little bit. Not maybe not hinged, but it changed because of Bambi. I couldn't tell you what changed, but that was just an iconic
you
movie.
think maybe
for people.
the animals as lead characters kind
Maybe.
of
Maybe.
that could be it.
Yep. Next we have Cinderella. I gave it a B. Not much to say other than that. It's about as iconic as you can get in terms of iconography for Disney
Yes.
World and the Disney brand. But
Gus.
the mice are great.
The mice probably carry it, and the mice aren't the only animal in the film. There's all kinds of animals. I mean, the fairy godmother, the family
Just
godmother.
call the fairy godmother an animal.
That was my first
I
reaction.
realized I did that. I was talking about animals, and I was about to
Yeah.
transition into. I was going to say the fairy godmother. Would you call it a trope? That style kind of pops in.
The mentor, kind of the mentor figure.
Yeah. I think it's an influential movie. I wouldn't call it a good
Yeah,
movie.
it's one of those that, like you said with Bambi, set the standard.
But
for-
here's the deal. I think that is the iconic princess movie. That's probably tough. It is one of the iconic princess movies, and we're three dudes.
I mean, it's the iconic one, just because I don't really consider based on plot or the tropes. I don't really see Snow White as a princess movie.
right.
Cinderella has all of the.
So I think if we were 8-year-old girls, I feel like it would be way higher.
Yeah.
Because you have Prince Charming, he finds you, the fairy god. I feel like that is much more feminine, whereas we're like pumped about the mice because we think they're funny. So there's a little bit of sex-based things happening, gender-based things.
There you
we'll
go.
say.
There you go.
Yep. Great appreciation for the historical and the iconography and everything.
Yes.
So I would agree.
Iconography is a new word for me. This is great.
I gotcha. Alice in Wonderland, gave it a B minus. It's a trip.
How was it on the rewatch? Because I didn't enjoy it as a kid because it was trippy.
It is extreme. Like it is very trippy.
And the
It's a product of its time.
what's it called?
Very much.
The what's the cat's name?
Cheshire Cat.
That freaked me out to no end when I was
Yeah.
little.
I'd agree with that. Yeah, there's the weird, like the worm guy. Yeah, it's a weird movie.
Yeah.
I appreciated the animation for how different it was. But not. It's an iconic story, but
Yeah.
not
I
much
didn't
for me
hate
on that.
the newer version of Alice in Wonderland when it came out.
The one with Johnny Depp. When he like the Mad Hatter or
I
something in
think,
it?
yes, he was. I didn't hate it when I watched it, but that's just not my style of movie.
Mm-hmm.
I don't love super super abstract weird movies. Like, were you like Donnie Darko? You know, people like love that,
Don't get me started on Dark.
but people
Such
like
a pretentious movie.
like I didn't love the new Willy Wonka movie with Johnny Depp as well, just because it's a little too
weird.
weird.
Mhm. Yeah.
Anyway,
It's an aesthetic.
yes.
Yeah.
That's not my aesthetic.
Yep. Peter Pan, I gave it an A-.
I like Peter Pan.
I think A- is probably good for Peter Pan. It's up there for me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Peter Pan.
it's the music that's great. The youngest kid, Michael, that kid had me like actually legit. Like when you can audibly make me laugh out loud nowadays, I'm like from an animated movie 50 years ago, and it's like the little kid in the movie.
Yeah.
It's great.
I enjoy the story.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
The thought of a lost world. It's in the stars. It's the Lost Boy kid thing. What, Lost Boys?
Lost Boys.
Yep, Lost Boys.
There's also the Lost Boys, which is like the
No,
other.
yeah.
That's what threw me. I think it's a great story.
It is.
Captain Hook, incredible villain.
Yep.
Yep.
The alligator, incredible villain to the villain.
Yep.
And
Smee.
that'd be an anti-hero.
And-
But I'd say this is totally like coming to me out of the blue. I feel like this might be the first introduction as well of like the trope of like the villain has a side like henchman, but it's also
Yeah.
kind of enjoyable, likable, and not as evil as
What's
them.
his name?
Smee.
I was gonna say Smeagol. I knew that. Smeagol.
Now, I will say this about Peter Pan. Hook. This is totally different. Hook with Robin Williams from the '90s. One of my favorite movies. Of all
Great
time.
movie.
Great movie. Rufio.
It's
everything.
definitely
It's great.
Peter Pan adjacent.
Yes.
But it's once again
It is Peter Pan.
But the story it's a great spin off
Yeah.
of the story,
Yeah.
the main
Mhm.
story.
Yeah.
Yep. Agreed. Next, you got Lady and the Tramp. I gave it a B.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
I've never seen Lady and the Tramp. You'd think it being.
I don't know. It's a dog movie, which
It's a dog
does
movie.
big points for you. I don't know if you would like the movie or not.
I don't
Let
know.
me tell you, having not seen it in years, I remember it being kind of slow,
Mm-hmm.
a slow build up, and at the end, it's just kind of a nice little romantic movie, a little bit of excitement at the end.
Yep. That's pretty much.
You know what I like more than that?
What?
Aristocats.
We're on our way to we're on our way there. So
No comment then.
we'll get there.
I'll hold my
we'll
comment.
get there in just a second.
I enjoyed that movie.
Okay.
Next, we have Sleeping Beauty. I gave it a B+.
I can't remember anything about Sleeping Beauty.
I think it is one of the better princess movies plot wise, but Sleeping Beauty as a character is completely forgettable.
Aurora is completely. Most people don't even remember that's her actual name.
Yeah.
To me, Maleficent carries the movie. She's probably the S tier iconic Disney villain.
Absolutely.
Like there, and it's again, like you're talking about, like how gender see them like as a guy, like all dragon at the end,
Yeah.
cool fight and stuff like that's like bumps it up a notch as a kid when you're watching it. But yeah,
The Lego store at Disney Springs has a giant Lego creation of the scene with Philip fighting Maleficent and like blocking the fire with his shield. It's super
And
cool.
Disney Springs is where?
It's
used to be downtown Disney.
it's kind of like it's on Disney property, but it's kind of like a shopping center with like a lot of restaurants and stuff. It's somewhere
Kind
that
of
you
your
could-
nightlife.
Did you hear that Disney is owned by the Crown of Britain now?
What?
I don't know if it's true or not. We'll have to look into it later. It'll
Okay.
be a Easter egg for our listeners.
Okay.
You know, there was the whole thing because Florida was trying to make Disney pay taxes on their land. There was a huge between him and
Yeah.
them and DeSantis. I think the way that they ended it is they like made it somehow connected to the royal crown, where like now the property Disney is part of Great Britain. I'm talking out of my butt right now, but I heard it on a podcast, and I think some semblance of that is true.
I'll have to check that out.
It's worth looking into. We can talk about it on another.
We have a lot
episode.
more movies to go.
Yeah.
Yes, that's what I'm saying.
About to say, so we can skip some of these. If there's one that we just don't feel any connection to, we can just say pass.
Okay.
Next, we have 101 Dalmatians. I gave it a B+.
We're not passing that. It's a fantastic movie.
I gave it a B+.
It's a cute movie.
Yep.
Yeah.
Cruella DeVille, another iconic character.
Yeah.
In a way, she carries the movie because she's
Most iconic part
she's
of the movie by far.
so hateable.
Yep.
No one likes her.
Yeah.
The henchmen are good. Good henchmen in that movie.
And there's 101 dogs. said.
Who's the main character of 101 Dalmatians?
Pongo and Perita are the two mom and dad
You consider
dogs.
it the dogs, or you consider it the human parents?
Honestly,
That's
that's a good thought.
I couldn't even tell you anything that happened to that movie.
You need to rewatch it.
I probably do.
You would enjoy it.
It's also one of the first, the newer animation style that was real. Like, I'm not an artistic person, but it's like the art style is very much different and a little bit of a. It'll take you out of it for a second, but once you get used to it, it's very interesting.
Interesting.
Yep. Next, we have Sword in the Stone. I gave it a C-.
That's a forgettable movie for me. Besides Excalibur, I could not tell you anything about the movie.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever seen it.
Yeah. Jungle Book, A-.
I'd probably rank it less, but
So I actually enjoyed the live action Jungle Book much more than the live action Lion King. I thought the live action Jungle Book was extremely well done.
I thought it was really good. I think Jungle Book is a great movie.
There's an opinion that I have of a lot of Disney movies that I'm probably going to say a lot, and just because it's been so long since I've seen Jungle Book, I'll go ahead and whip this opinion out here. It's the soundtrack. That's why everybody remembers Jungle Book.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, as a film, is it really good? I don't know. But because the music is so iconic, I feel like people elevate it to something that it may not actually be.
That's fair.
I think it's in a way it's a coming of age tale, which I'm very partial to. I think the way that they personalize Baloo, what's the Panther's name?
Bagheera.
I think their development is fantastic, especially Baloo as he goes through the process of raising Mowgli. I think it's great. And then you have a very big moment at the very end when he rejoins the village. I think it's a good movie.
Okay.
There you go. Next up, Aristocats. I gave it a C.
When I say I liked it, I would rate it probably a C+. But I mean, you go into it thinking Aristocats, it's gonna be awful, and you watch the geese that are kind of walking, and you see the cats dancing with it. They go on an adventure. It's an enjoyable movie.
Okay,
there you go. Next we got Robin Hood. Gave it a B-.
The animal Robin Hood.
Yes.
I have never seen it, and I know I would love it. I love the character.
I remembered very little of it on the rewatch. I was kind of hitting at this point. I was like, man, I'm kind of getting this is kind of a drag to get through some of these. But I was like, you know what? That was actually much more enjoyable than I was expecting it to be.
I love the Robin Hood story.
Yeah.
Every Robin Hood remake I've seen, I've liked. My favorite is the Kevin Costner, Morgan Freeman.
Mm-hmm.
It's so good.
You seem like a Men in Tights kind of guy.
Men in Tights is good, but
do you count it because it's more like satire?
Yeah, it's a satire of it. I mean, it's good. I don't consider it like a Robin Hood movie. I probably should.
Yeah.
But I grew up watching the Fox Robin Hood. Yeah. It's a great movie.
Mm-hmm.
What'd you rate it?
B-.
I'd probably go B+.
I haven't seen it, but I'm partial to the characters.
It's funny though, because like I never watched Snow White ever, but I probably watched Robin Hood as many times as you watched Snow White. It's just weird how things happen.
Yeah. So next we have The Many Adventures of Winnie the Pooh, which I gave a B+ only because I literally smiled the whole way through it and just kind of like laughed at how like wholesome it is, because I like obviously like there's no story. It's Winnie the Pooh and friends.
They're going around,
but they're going around eating honey, and I just smiled. I was like, I'm gonna give it a B+. I enjoyed that.
I feel like with anything Winnie the Pooh, you're not really rating the individual product. You're just rating the vibe, like the vibe and the characters.
Of Pooh.
Yeah.
Has anyone ever called him Winnie? That's never happened.
No,
I don't think so. It's always Pooh Bear.
Did you watch the new one that they came out a few years ago
with Ewan McGregor?
I hated it because it was so sad.
Yep.
It did look kind of depressing. I never saw it. But
I won't give it away. I will give it away because it's the whole premise of the movie. The premise is that Christopher Robin,
he's gotten too old or something.
He's grown up, moved away, all the things, and he kind of comes back to his home. I can't remember if they're like selling it or something. For some reason, he comes back to his home in the 100-acre wood, and he re-engages with his animals and like says goodbye to them. That's the whole premise of the movie, and it's so sad because the whole thing is like Christopher Robin will. If you've read like the book, the whole point of the premise of Winnie the Pooh is like Christopher Robin is playing with him, but then he goes away to his boarding school, and that's when Winnie and them are or Pooh and them are by themselves.
Yeah.
And so they just took that premise and was like, well, what happens when he's 45 and the magic leaves because he is gone? And it's a good movie, but it's so depressing.
Yeah, I can see that. All right, so I'm gonna and if any one of these stick out, but since we're about to get into like the ones that'll actually probably talk a little bit more about, so if any of these stick out to you that you want to highlight, feel free. So we've got like Rescuers, Fox and the Hound, Black Cauldron, Great Mouse Detective, Oliver and Company, Rescuers Down Under. All kind of in that. This was kind of when Disney was going through a lot of financial. Like these weren't hitting the same as some of the other ones were.
I enjoyed Rescuers Down Under.
I'll see Fox and the Hound. You want to talk about like one of the saddest moments is when so sad. But I would probably put all those around the B- category. They're good, but there's usually not going to be the top of my.
I can pull the opening scene of Rescuers Down Under from my memory bank because we saw it and it's just really good. It had a really good opening scene. Next, unless you have something to say.
Enough.
Yep. All right. So now we merge into the Renaissance era, the big ones. Little Mermaid. I gave it an A. I think probably in terms of the grand scheme of if people look at Disney as a whole, probably the most iconic music. Not for me personally. I mean, I do love the music in it, but I think as a whole, when people think Disney, they hear Little Mermaid soundtrack.
It's got songs that are definitely on it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, so good. I'm thinking of I Can Show You the World by Aladdin though, and it's.
I would agree with that as well.
Sebastian, not Sebastian. Who's
Flounder?
the crab?
No, Sebastian. Yeah.
Sebastian, incredible character. Kiss the Girl.
Yep.
One of the best songs ever.
Mm-hmm.
And it's so good.
Yeah.
The Ariel's fork song when she's in her thing. What's it called?
Part of Your World?
Yes.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
The
I agree.
fork is what you took away from that song.
The thingamabob.
Yeah.
I didn't hate the new
I didn't
one.
either. I thought the girl that they had play Ariel did a fantastic job. Sounded just like her.
Without getting into the politics of her being black and that whole thing, her voice was incredible.
I thought she did a very good job. I thought she did a very good job.
She was so good.
And I thought Melissa McCarthy did a good job as Ursula too.
I thought she was going to be awful,
Mm-hmm.
she pulled it off very well.
She either really hits or really, really misses.
But just from her being like the big quirky comedic effect person, she did snarky villain very well.
Mm-hmm. I would agree with that.
And she wasn't that funny in the movie. There wasn't really a part where she was had a humor spot. It was just very snarky.
Yep.
Great movie.
Yep. All right. Beauty and the Beast. You may make fun of me. I gave it an A+.
I feel like you kind of have to, because
I don't know if I give it A+. You think it's better than Little Mermaid?
I do.
Again, it's one of those. I watched it a lot. If you are a person that takes in out of, it's the only one that's ever won best or been nominated for Best Picture.
Oh, I didn't know that.
It won.
It did win.
I'm pretty sure.
I can't remember. It is either the. I think it's the only one that's ever been nominated as Best Picture.
I mean, we're splitting hairs between A and A+.
But yeah.
So I mean, full agreement. It's a great movie. Once again, the plot storyline is a great idea. I like it may sound really corny. I like kind of
it was nominated.
True love kiss, you are changed. You have to go through a journey to get back to where you want to be, and then you get back and you realize that you're different than where you started. I think it's a great look. The side characters are incredible. The whole parts of the house thing is great. So I don't know if I'd put it A. What's another A+? Lion King.
So for me personally, I have 5 A+.
Okay, but right now I'm comparing it to Lion King.
Yes.
I'm not upset if it goes A+. I don't know if on my list I'd probably put it A, but if I get outvoted, I have no issue with that.
Yeah.
So moving on to yours, Aladdin. I gave it an A+.
It's a fantastic movie.
Yep.
Has to be.
I think that's unanimous. If it's ever unanimous, I think that speaks for itself.
Yep.
Lion King, A+ for me.
To me, the most iconic Disney movie.
Yeah,
certainly up there, top 3.
It is. It didn't win any awards or anything. It didn't do.
Well, but just they've all taking out musically. I think Beauty and the Beast is the only one that has been nominated for Best Picture.
I don't love Lion King for its music. I think the music's incredible, but when I think of Lion King, I don't think of the music.
But I'd say I think almost more of the.
Well, there's a difference between soundtrack and score.
The score, I think,
Okay. I'm not thinking of that.
To this day, I think it's one of those if the ending scene when it's raining and he walks up Pride Rock, and that score hits, and Mufasa says, "Remember," like chills every time.
Yeah.
Never not gonna watch that and not get chills from it.
Okay, well, I'm including score into
It
that.
won Best Original Song and Best Score. I forget Hans Zimmer did the score.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
That's crazy.
yeah,
Great movie.
yep.
Aladdin ekes it out, but not by much.
I wouldn't argue with you on that.
Yeah.
Next you got Pocahontas. I gave it a B plus.
Wait, go back. Scar's one of the best villains.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely, 100%. Be Prepared's my favorite villain song.
He's one of the best villains, and then the hyenas are
Great.
They're great.
because they're kind of like henchmen, but then they're kind of their own thing in the same time.
Yeah.
They hold their own.
Also, when you realize it's Whoopi Goldberg and Cheech from Cheech and Chong, they're doing it. Yeah, iconic for sure.
Yeah.
So Pocahontas, I give it a B plus. Great music.
My roommate in college, it's his favorite movie. He's a dude. He's my age. It's his favorite
Who's
movie.
your roommate, God?
Dylan Dearman. He's from Hattiesburg. You wouldn't know him.
Do you realize the voice cast in that movie and how stacked it is?
No.
Do you know who voices John Smith?
No.
Mel Gibson. And Joseph Gordon-Levitt voices.
How old was he?
I don't
Had to be
remember.
a
He was
kid.
young. He voices. I can't remember this. I can't remember his name, but he's in it. It's a stacked cast. You don't realize it.
Her main song is a great song.
Colors of the Wind.
It's not the best song, but it's a great song.
Yeah.
Yep.
The story was kind of predictable for me. I didn't love the story, but it was good. It's a good movie. My roommate would hit me because he says it's the best movie.
Yeah. I've seen it maybe twice. Thought
Yeah.
it was fine.
Yep.
Would you rate it?
B plus.
B.
I'd be somewhere in the B's.
B.
Next, it's iconic. Toy Story. I gave it an A.
See, we're getting into the it surprised me because I keep forgetting we're not talking about Pixar.
Yeah.
It's a fantastic movie.
It is.
Would you give it A plus?
I gave it an A.
A?
I'd give it an A.
What would you rate the series? I know that it's not how it works, but
As a series,
when you put you put Toy Story 1, 2, and 3 together,
I think I would
forget
give.
the
I
fourth
think
one.
I would give them all A's. So wouldn't that make the overall grade an A?
Probably.
But it's like now. Granted, yes, 3 A's should make an A plus as a series, but we're splitting hairs. I think it's of all the movies that have sequels, it is the strongest as a whole. Because even Toy Story 4 is pretty good.
It's okay.
It's not great.
The Forky character, I get the story, and it
Yeah.
lines up perfect what they're doing. I just didn't enjoy it as much.
Yep.
And Toy Story 3, when they're dealing with the claw,
Mm-hmm.
that to me is like pinnacle. You should have ended it there. I mean,
Wait.
When they're about to go into like the
you shouldn't have
when
ended
they're
the
about
movie
to get
there.
to
You
the
should have ended the series of
incinerator?
Toy Story 3. I
Oh, I
think
thought you should've-
gotcha.
Should have
Yeah.
been like, and they died.
not that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a great movie.
Fun fact:
Hey, probably.
Toy Story came out like a few weeks before I was born, so we have like footage. Like my dad filmed everything, and so like there's my mom in the hospital bed with me, like just been born, and they're asking my brother like, "What did you go see today?" And he's like, "Toy Story." So
Good old Justin.
yeah. Next we have Hunchback of Notre Dame. I gave it an A.
No opinion. Haven't seen it.
It's been so long since I've seen it. I've seen it more than a lot of movies.
We're approaching an hour.
That's
letting you know.
that's fine.
Yeah.
We normally go hour 30 anyway.
Yeah.
I don't know if I give it an A. It's the music is
Mhm.
fantastic.
The music of all the movies that music carries, I think music carries in this one because I would not have given this an A as a child. I never watched this hardly ever as a child, but as an adult watching it and appreciating the animation and all that, I was like, I give it an A.
I think if I watched it now, I would probably appreciate it more than I did when I was younger. Because when you're younger, the Hunchback guy kind of freaks you out,
Yep.
and it's dark and gloomy. He's in Notre Dame.
Yep.
The festival scene is a good scene,
Mm-hmm.
or whatever that's called.
Feast of Fools.
Yes, that's a good one. I can't really tell you how it ends, to be honest. So
The villain falls into theoretical hell.
yeah, I probably need to go back and watch it. So we'll just stick with that as as my last comment.
There you go. Next, Hercules. A plus for me.
It's a
I
great
loved
movie.
Hercules as a
I
kid.
can't disagree.
I loved Hercules.
And I saw it for the first time a few years ago.
Really,
And I loved it.
I rewatched it a few years ago and thought it holds up.
Mm-hmm.
Like went and watched Heavyweights, didn't hold up. Went and watched Hercules, it held up. I guess the song is called Hercules. When he's becoming Hercules,
Yeah, Zero to Hero.
that Best part of the movie.
Mm-hmm.
Fantastic. The end got a little scary.
The jump for the time jump to show that they're from a kid to an adult.
His training montage, fantastic.
Danny DeVito.
Yes, he did great.
Right.
Yep.
The point where he lifts the rock up, and it's that first moment where they think he just lost it, and Danny DeVito's hitting himself over the head because he lost another hero, and you just see him picking that thing up. It's a great movie.
Yep. Great. I even appreciated it more when I found out years later that James Woods, the guy that voices Hades, they said he based him like voice acting style on like a used car dealer. I was like, that makes so much sense, and that makes me appreciate that so much more. All right, so next up we have Mulan. It's an A for me.
I like Mulan.
Mulan's great.
That's an A or A plus for me.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it's an A plus for me. The thing I hated more than anything in the world is that in the live action, the dragon wasn't in it.
Kevin Hart. Kevin Hart was right there. If you want Eddie Murphy in the '90s, Kevin Hart today, that's all you had to do.
Yeah,
because now I wouldn't say he carried the movie, but he was one of the main characters.
In the same way that Genie's the star of Aladdin.
Very similar.
Yeah.
Their training montage, incredible.
That's one of the best.
Be a Man.
Yeah.
One of the best songs Disney's ever put out.
Yeah.
Somebody at our church last week had a little stick and they were waving around like that, and I was literally like, "You look like you're about to go fight the Huns or something like that."
And just I think what makes Mulan for me is when they're in the training, they're developing the friendships, and then they get to that first battle. That whole middle part of the movie.
Well, it's also in this, not to get like what the politics of the world and stuff now, but like when you talk about what the story was for the new one versus like this, the original was the story done right, like female, like Mulan is a strong female character and all that. And then have you seen the newer one?
I know all about it.
So basically, the ending is that it's not that you're like brave and all this. You basically have a power through your family lineage. That's why you can do this, not because you're strong and independent and all that. And I was like, well, that kind of defeats the purpose of the whole movie.
They missed. It was a big
miss on their. Some of the live actions have been better. That was probably my least favorite, but the original, great one. Next, A Bug's Life. Gave it a B plus.
C minus.
I just remember watching it a lot when I was a kid. But
I also watched it a lot as a kid. I didn't love it.
Yeah. Did you like Ants better?
I did. I will say
I don't remember it. I know about Ants.
Yeah.
But I don't remember anything about it.
It's so funny the twin movies.
People don't realize how big of a deal that was. That they were had lawsuits going as they were both coming out because they were like we basically stole each other's ideas.
Yeah, that was targeted.
Yep,
that was very much a hit.
Yeah,
I did like A Bug's Life more than Ants, but Ants we're talking about we just went from Mulan to A Bug's Life.
Yep. So as it's funny you say that. So after this one, we kind of get into the early 2000s, dark ages, as some people called it. Not as bad as some for me, but before that, we do have Tarzan. I gave it an A solely on the back of Phil Collins and the work he put in on that. Great soundtrack.
It may be the best soundtrack.
I missed that one. So like everyone in our generation talks about how like Phil Collins defined their childhood, and I missed it.
I don't know. It's probably in my top 3 best soundtracks. Does start to finish? They're just.
Well, it's very rare you have somebody that not the character singing, but a vocal, like an actual singer doing all the music for it.
Randy Newman didn't do it for you.
I sing the song. I like it.
Yeah.
Tarzan's good.
Yep. So we kind of already talked about this one. Toy Story 2. Like I think all the Toy Stories, are probably gonna get an A for me. Besides Toy Story
2 deserves more credit than it gets.
I think so too. I think Toy Story 2 is in some ways better than Toy Story 1, but Toy Story 1 gets the iconic. It's the original.
The interesting part is if you go watch them again, the animation quality jump between 1, 2, and 3 is the jumps they make are astounding.
Yeah. The other thing I love, which I always forget these are a thing, but one of my favorite aspects about those Pixar movies is like the blooper outtakes they would do in the credits, where they take the actual animation as if they're actually acting and like turn it into bloopers. That was always so funny to me. All right, so next you have Dinosaur, which at the time as a kid loved it. When I rewatched it, I gave it like a C.
I don't know anything about Dinosaur.
So yeah, it's kind of that. It was that newer animation style. They were computer animated that they were really experimenting with at the time. It's fine.
I'm gonna pass.
pass.
I don't
Yep.
remember.
Okay, so maybe a controversial take. Some people very agree with it. Some people don't. My dark horse A+, Emperor's New Groove.
It's up there.
Ooh.
It's up there.
It is the single
That's
most.
just a funny movie.
It is the single most quotable Disney
Yeah.
movie. Me and a buddy can basically quote the whole thing to each other. It's pretty bad.
I understand. It's a good movie. I would keep it A or A-, but it's one of those where I wasn't just on the David Spade. Like, it's just, I understand why.
I would keep it A-, just because, especially if you're grading it as a Disney movie, it doesn't have a lot of the like iconic imagery or music or anything. It's just a really funny movie.
It
Yep.
may have the best henchman. What's
Kronk.
He's classic.
He may be he may be better than Smee on Peter
He is.
Pan.
He is.
Yep.
He absolutely
100%.
I mean,
Iconic.
I think people liked him more than the villain.
When he's talking to the squirrels at the end.
Oh
is. He's the
my
main
gosh.
character.
It is his story. Yep. Great stuff.
John Goodman,
Mhm.
great in that movie.
Yep.
He
I forget he's even in that movie.
He
Like-
was the conscience for the Emperor. He did great.
And it may just be that it's like it's very much my style of humor, just like sarcastic. Like when he's
Yes.
going through all the girls in the front when they're trying to like set him up, he's like, "Hate your hair, yikes, yikes, yikes," and let me guess, you have a great like. That's oh man,
Classic.
classic. Next, an underrated gem for me, Atlantis, A-.
I enjoyed Atlantis.
That's it deserves more than it gets.
I think like story wise, I think it's great, and the animation style too. It was kind of when that early, it was still hand drawn animation, but they would had a
CG
little bit of
mixed in.
CG in it. Really cool.
Atlantis.
Yeah. Monsters Inc. A. I love Monsters Inc.
Maybe a B+. Like it's a great film, but I guess I don't know. What do you think?
It's a good film. It's rewatchable.
Yes.
So it's whatever grade you gave, like you'd watch it if it's on. I'd watch it if it was on.
Mm-hmm.
It's higher than that, but it's around that. So probably B+, A-.
I'm thinking B+.
Yeah, that's fair. Next, got Lilo and Stitch.
Hated all the other Monsters Inc. movies.
Yeah, I don't.
Monsters
Yeah, I would,
U and
yeah, I
all
would
that.
agree with that.
There's one joke that is one of my favorite jokes that Disney's ever done, and it's in Monsters University. And it's when they're going. One of the characters in the fraternity gets their mom to drive them to like the school at night or something, and she's like, "All right, you kids have fun. I'm just gonna listen to my tunes." And she rolls up the window, and you just hear muffled death metal. She's just jamming out to metal in her car, and she just got just like a smile on her face, like so dumb, but it was so funny,
It just got you.
so unexpected.
Sometimes a joke will just get
Yeah.
you.
Yeah, that's good.
What'd you say?
Lilo and Stitch. I gave it an A-. I've been told, I don't really remember this a whole lot. I've been told that like I was like my parents said that Stitch was like my favorite thing. Like I would talk like him, like it was just my favorite thing.
The way that you feel about Emperor's New Groove is the way that I feel about Lilo and Stitch. It would be like a dark horse A+ for me.
I agree with that.
It's a
Yeah.
like, and
It's
I
good.
don't remember any of the music. Stitch
It wasn't even really a musical.
is
Mm-hmm.
one of the best characters they've ever made.
Yep, I would agree with that. Treasure Planet. I'd give it a solid B. It was I would say it's an underrated early 2000s, but
That's the sci-fi ships in ships. In
he's on the
space.
little surfboard thing. He's got the ponytail because that was really cool at the time and not something that everybody had like they do nowadays.
Yes.
So Joseph Gordon-Levitt. So we got a lot of those characters walking around.
I think it's a high middle of the road movie.
Mm-hmm.
Better than average.
I think it had a really cool aesthetic about it, like just the visual style of pirates in space.
It was
But-
that was like a left turn for them, but
Yeah.
not in a bad way. Like
Yeah.
they'd never done really anything like it. The closest they did was Atlantis or like
Yeah.
El Dorado, stuff like that.
Yep.
Isn't that the name of that movie?
Yeah, El Dorado's DreamWorks, but it's still a good movie.
Yeah. Same concept. though.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Next, Finding Nemo. Gave it an A-.
It's a good movie.
That's probably outside of Up, maybe the saddest intro to a Disney movie and kind of the most horrifying.
Up still wrecked me.
Yep.
Like it's
Yep.
still like it still bothers me to this day. Yeah.
Because it's real.
Yep.
Yep. But yeah, Finding Nemo,
We'll
great
stick with
classic.
we'll stick with A-.
Yep.
Yep.
That's fine.
Dory, fantastic.
Iconic.
Character.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Funny. This is total side note. One of the things that Finding Nemo did for me is I always, and it may be because I've never actually had one. I always thought that getting a root canal was like the worst thing you could ever do until I had a buddy who's a dentist, and he's like, "Oh no, root canals aren't that bad." I'm like, "Well, Finding Nemo made it look like that kid was being like just."
I think root canals used to be bad.
Maybe that's what it was.
And then Finding Nemo definitely just
Yeah, like the
ramped
kid's
it
like
up.
shaking in the chair, like screaming, like yeah. So that's my thought on Finding Nemo. Next, Brother Bear. So we've got a few of these other mid 2000s: Brother Bear, Home on the Range, Chicken Little.
Home on the Range. I forgot about that movie.
Home on the Range, I gave a D.
Oh, it's terrible.
It's got Rosie O'Donnell, I think.
Home on the Range it was about cows.
Or no, it's Roxanne or whoever it is. What's her name? Roseanne.
Roseanne.
Yeah, Roseanne.
Cows running the show, and the farmer leaves, and they get caught. It's awful, but what a movie.
Yeah.
What was the one you said before then?
So you had like Brother Bear.
Brother Bear.
I
enjoyed Brother Bear.
It's really sad. Like I remember I feel like
Have
I
you
never
seen
wanted
it?
to watch.
No.
Yeah, I never wanted to watch it because
Native
how sad
American
everything-
tribe. Guy goes on.
I know about it. I know the plot.
Becomes the bear. It is kind of sad.
Yeah, the oldest brother dies in the beginning, and they kill the main character, the little actual bear. They kill her mom in retaliation, and then he parades around as his brother for the rest of the movie. It's kind of penance for that.
It's an enjoyable movie. I don't know what I'd rate it. Probably a C plus.
I think I'd probably give it a C plus. Yeah, a lot of these the early 2000s. So that one, Home on the Range, I never really cared for.
Chicken Little is
Chicken Little.
That's definitely Dark Age Disney when you think of Dark Age Disney.
I did not enjoy Chicken Little.
No, I didn't either. I think I gave it like a D. Incredibles, gave it an A.
That's an A.
That may be A plus for me.
It may be. I did not like the second one, but so much of the first one just worked.
Mm-hmm.
The take on superheroes was incredible, and I
was.
know it was.
The soundtrack is amazing.
I know that it
Or,
was
well, the score.
it was the arguably better family friendly version of Watchmen in terms of that kind of idea. You didn't like where I went with that?
No, I wouldn't.
Family friendly and Watchmen.
I wouldn't go that far, but I have seen people say that it is the best Fantastic Four movie we've ever had,
That is
which
true.
I would agree with that because
Oh.
most people have not liked all the Fantastic Four movies, and
everyone hated them. You can
Yes.
you can be honest.
I didn't hate it. I
love the original early
The,
2000 Fantastic Four.
the Chris Evans Fire Torch,
Human Torch.
Human Torch. Thank you. I enjoyed that movie.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say it's the best movie ever, but it was an enjoyable superhero movie.
Yep. So Incredibles, I think is great. All right.
We never. It is the family friendly version of Watchmen. Watchmen is not family friendly.
It is not.
Just because, how is it how is Watchmen? I don't understand.
Because it's like it. Both of those movies humanized superheroes, where you weren't perfect. You had being a superhero was like a day job, and how the world dealt with superheroes. It's the same trope. What are you talking about?
That's been done. I'm just floored that you even are familiar with Watchmen.
I was kind of the same. I didn't know you were big.
I mean, it's not my favorite movie. It was an okay movie. It was better than okay. It was an. I don't want to say the word enjoyable because I really didn't enjoy it, but it was a good-ish movie.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. There you go.
I did like Incredibles. It may barely tap into A plus for me, but we'll just call it A.
Yeah.
Cars, gave it an A minus.
That one.
Cars is an A movie for me. What are you talking about?
That one played so much in my house when I was growing up.
Yeah. Mater, Larry the Cable Guy, iconic. Owen Wilson. I give it an A minus.
A minus.
Yep. Meet the Robinsons.
That's a dark horse good movie.
I gave it a B. I never was. I watched it. I watched it as a kid. I never remember loving it as much as others, but it's a good movie.
Those two movies, the two movies I'm about to say, Meet the Robinsons, Peabody and Mr. Sherman, fantastic. They're not A plus. Let's not get ahead of ourselves.
Yeah.
Fantastic movies. You have the adoption thing. You got your crazy family. There's it's where you see the T-Rex with the little arms.
That's my other favorite Disney joke with the T-Rex with the little arms.
I got a big head and little arms. Don't know what. It's a fantastic movie.
It's basically the family-friendly version of Terminator 2.
That's it. We need to just restart this whole podcast and just give live, actual comparisons.
What did you grade Meet the Robinsons?
B.
It's an A minus for me, I think.
It would be in the B category. It'd be a B or a B plus. So I agree with that.
All right. So Ratatouille, gave it an A minus.
Yeah. Fantastic
I
movie.
saw it for the first time.
I'm saying the
a couple
word
years ago.
fantastic too much, but Ratatouille's a great movie.
Well, when you got this big of a lineup and this many movies, you're going to have some hits. Kind of like the early Marvel first through. Like when you have so many that are that good, it's okay to say that. So this may be a controversial take. Wall-E, I gave it a C.
Yeah, you did.
It's better than that.
So I vividly remember Wall-E. I think was the first movie as a kid I went in and walked out thinking like I don't think I enjoyed that. Like because now granted it has been a long time since I rewatched it. I remember liking it a little bit better on the rewatch because as a kid it's basically a silent film for the first hour.
It was too slow for me.
Yeah.
The first half is too slow. If you're zoned in and you're paying attention to what he's doing to figure things out, I'm sure it's great. I just couldn't track with it.
It's a very poignant movie.
It's got a message.
As an adult. It does.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Correct.
I
The
would
people
put-
on the ship,
Yeah.
incredible.
I would put it in the B's.
Yep. All right.
I would probably do C+.
So now we've hit the 2010s. So basically the last decade or so of movies.
We're already the 2010s.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
So and then we probably missed one or two here or there, but so Up, we kind of mentioned it. I give it an A-.
It's a full A for me because I do think it does start at it's one of the most effective stories. Like the first 10 minutes is an amazing silent film, and the rest of the movie is pretty good. But Doug elevates it into an A for me. I love Doug so much.
Doug. I hate sad movies. I will like Sound of Freedom. You know, everyone wanted to go see that movie when it came out. I was like, I'm not going to see it because it's made to make you feel sad and horrible and for this plight. The problem is that I wasn't ready for Up when I saw Up. Nobody first time you saw it, no one was ready for that, and it broke me in some ways.
Yep.
That I will never watch it again. Because it just makes me feel so sad.
Well, it's one of those things, like with a lot of these, it's that suspension of disbelief that you go for in movies, and then go into something thinking that, oh, this is Aladdin, this is rubbing a genie lamp, and that kind of magical wonder. Yeah, and then you get hit with a real life, like, oh, these two people deeply loved each other, and he lost his best friend and was by her side at every life. That's real life.
Yes.
Like I wouldn't expect it to be hit with a real life. There's a message and stuff, but when it's that real close to home,
but there's people. If you wanted to get on Enneagram stuff, which we're not doing, there's certain personalities where like they love to feel that realness and that sadness, and it broke me.
Well, to me, objectively, if you look at it as a film, again, with the script, in the first 10 minutes, they conveyed everything I need to know about the rest of the movie and what it was going to be about. And so, like, talk about laying groundwork quickly. And in a unique way, I think it did just that.
I'm biased negatively just because of how my personality clashed with that immense broken sadness at the very beginning, to where I just really couldn't enjoy the rest of the movie. Except Doug.
That's you got that like sad story, and then you got Squirrel.
Yes.
Squirrel.
I love Doug so
Doug
much.
was great.
Good stuff. All right, next, Princess and the Frog, the last like hand drawn animated movie. I think that's right.
That was the last hand drawn.
I think so.
That is correct.
I didn't enjoy Princess and the Frog.
I give it a B+.
See,
I thought it was fine.
I didn't enjoy it. I would never give it like a D or an F. It would probably be a C-. I just didn't enjoy watching it.
Yeah.
That's fair. That's fair. Toy Story 3, we are kind of hit on. I think we all agree that's up there. Tangled, I gave it an A.
S tier, A+, all the accolades.
That lantern scene is iconic.
Oh, so good. That was my first dance at my wedding was to that.
What's his
song.
name? Zachary Levi.
Mm-hmm.
He did incredible.
It was great.
It's an A for me.
It's an A+.
Yep, it's great. Cars 2, gave it a
What a
one end to the
dip.
next. I gave Cars 2 an F.
Yeah.
I hated it. Like
Just run me through Cars 2 plot.
it's when Mater goes. So first one NASCAR, second one Mater joins the
Super Spy.
Super
Mater's
Spy.
a
Yeah,
spy.
F.
with Michael Caine being
Yep.
his mentor.
Maybe a D-, but yeah, not good.
Okay.
Which is funny because the Lightning McQueen plot had potential because
Yeah.
it was like a world race thing, right?
Uh-huh.
That's a great idea.
And then Mater's over here flying, shooting guns. Oh man! All right.
went the way of Fast and the Furious. They just boiled it down very quickly.
Yeah, but then Cars 3 kind of reverted. We'll get to that in a second. But Brave, I gave it a B-. It's the one with the Scottish girl rated
I know what you're
redheaded.
talking about. If Lauren Lucky were here, she'd be all over it.
Yeah, that was her. She was in
Shout
that.
out, Lauren.
Love Lauren. She's great.
I'd probably stick it in the B-. It was okay.
No opinion.
Yep. There you go. Wreck-It Ralph, A-.
A.
Didn't get into it. I understand why you enjoy it. It's the internet.
No, that's Wreck-It Ralph 2, and that's a D for me.
Oh, really?
Well,
I never even saw Wreck-It Ralph 2.
It's very meta. Like they almost went too meta with it.
They went way too meta. Third favorite Disney joke is in Wreck-It Ralph 2. It's when they go to the Disney
Even though
website.
you hate it.
Literally the one good part. They go to the Disney website and they're at like the Marvel corner. There's this one guy that's like in Thor 2, like asking a question with that kind of nerd voice. And he keeps bumping into the mic like it's just super urgent. And it shows who he's asking the question to, and it's Baby Groot. Like that's just good.
Yeah,
Wreck-It Ralph's all about classic video games.
Classic video games, yes.
Which explains why I was not as interested.
That's fair. That's fair. Monsters University, we already kind of touched on that earlier. I gave it a C. Just no. All right. It could be very controversial, but it's iconic regardless of one another. It's Frozen. Gave it an A.
D.
No.
D.
It's an A. I can't not.
Of course you guys think it's an A. You went to Mississippi College.
So did you.
I know, but going to Mississippi College.
What grade did you legitimately give it? A D?
I think it's a D.
You think the music is a D?
Story, music, everything.
I don't think the story's that good.
You think?
I think
Sven?
people. Who even is Sven?
Is the reindeer?
I didn't know that because he left such a unimpression on me.
It's definitely not a D.
I think people elevate it.
High B, low A.
No, I really enjoy it. I trust me. I did everything in my power to like. I'm like, oh, this is everybody's singing it. It's really annoying, but it's like I can't deny it.
I don't like the soundtrack, and a lot of it's because I went to Mississippi College and it was played to death everywhere.
Did you like Frozen 2? We can go and skip ahead to Frozen 2.
Never even saw Frozen 2.
I think the animation in Frozen 2 is one of the best.
I've enjoyed the animation that I've seen.
I think the music's better in Frozen 2 than Frozen 1, honestly.
I just think Frozen was just way overhyped, and the story wasn't.
Frozen and Frozen 2 are both A's.
That's interesting.
I would agree with that.
A or A minus, but it's in the A's.
Yep. Big Hero 6, A minus.
A plus.
I'd average out to A.
Yep.
Because I put Tangled and Big Hero in the same place.
Yeah.
Yep. It's great. Inside Out, A minus.
I've only seen it once, but I didn't love when I watched it.
I'm gonna say,
but that's not fair.
It's really hard. It's really heartfelt.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say probably A plus because I think as a film it's pretty good, but I think it does a lot in terms of conveying psychology to children.
Mm-hmm.
That's true.
That has never been done before.
Yep.
So
in the same way you have that like one joke that always like, so I have that joke in Inside Out.
Yeah.
Like at the end when she bumps into the boy and it goes into the boy's mind, it's like girl, and they're running around, they're crying. Like I lose it every time when I see that scene.
Yep.
I will withhold my grade because it deserves another rewatch for me.
It's one of those that I think is very unique and does a lot.
It was very unique.
Yeah.
It was a good story.
Yeah, it's special.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, like I wouldn't watch it as much as I'd watch.
What was the
other
new
ones.
kind of Inside Out movie that just
Elemental?
Was it any good? I never saw
I haven't
it.
actually seen it yet.
I haven't watched it.
So, but the thing about Inside Out too is like, because I remember even when I was rewatching it, I was like, man, I kind of forgot some of the elements of this, and it's like, man, sadness is just like, why is she just ruins everything? And then at the end, when you get to the point of realizing like, why is sadness so important? And it's like, oh man, that just hits you in the feels when you realize why sadness is a part of your life, like because it helps people come beside you when they need. Like,
2 words, bing bong.
Yep.
Like I said, it deserves a rewatch for me.
Real one.
Shout out to Big Mom.
My guy. This is one I don't have a super big opinion on. Good Dinosaur.
Once again, I didn't even know that was a movie.
Yeah, it's C minus maybe.
I think I gave it a C minus.
Didn't even know it existed.
Zootopia, A minus.
It was a good.
That sloth carries.
You're going to tell me you didn't like Zootopia?
I never said that. I thought it was good. I thought it had a good message.
I'd give it a B+.
Yeah, that's fair. So here we're getting into like kind of the sequels of the earlier ones. You got Finding Dory, Cars 3, Incredibles 2, Toy Story 4. Do any of those stick out in any sort of realm?
I disliked Incredibles 2.
I did. I think I watched it in theaters once and never really had the desire to go back and watch it.
They just did the same thing, but with the mom instead of the dad. It just felt like wasted potential.
Yeah, it definitely wasn't Incredibles 1. I didn't think it was bad. I agree that it was a waste.
It was a retread.
There was a lot of potential.
It's kind of like a lot of like if it was still in the 90s, those probably would have been direct to DVD type style stories. But because
say them again.
Finding Dory, Incredible
never
2, Cars 3, and Toy Story 4.
I like you said, I enjoyed Cars 3 more than I thought I would.
Mm-hmm.
Because they went back to what it was. It definitely wasn't Cars 1.
No.
And it definitely wasn't a Toy Story thing where like each sequel was an incredible tie-in.
Mm-hmm.
It was just like like you said, direct to DVD. It's a good way to put it.
Yep. Moana, B+.
It's in the B's for me.
Yep.
The Rock didn't do what I wanted him to do.
What did you?
He didn't.
You're implying that The Rock can do anything other than be The Rock.
I thought he was going to be the next Genie. He wasn't going to be the next Genie, but like his character was going to elevate to that level, and it didn't do it.
Yeah,
he was good.
They were definitely going for that big personality. This is going to be like the big breakout character.
He did fine.
Yep.
Like as a character, what's the character's name?
Maui.
He did fine.
Yeah.
Yeah. Ralph Breaks the Internet. That's kind of in those other sequels.
Didn't even watch it.
D tier.
I gave it a B-.
I didn't even watch it.
Horrible.
Frozen 2, we kind of mentioned as well.
Great movie.
Never seen it.
I gave it an A.
It's a great movie.
Okay.
It builds on the story of Frozen, and it doesn't go super weird and crazy like side quest. It goes in a straight. It ties loose ends that you sometimes think about in the first movie. It brings its own plot in. It did a great job.
Yep. Onward.
I did not think I was going to like Onward, and it messed me up.
Yeah.
I think I gave it a B.
I thought it was going to be silly and kind of stupid, and it messed me up.
I liked Onward more than I thought I would too. Probably a B+.
Yep.
You know another movie that has nothing to do with what we're talking about?
What?
Mitchell versus the Machines.
That's a good one.
That's a good movie.
Well, you know who did that movie, right?
Sony, because it's all over the.
No, Lord Miller, Spider-Verse, Lego Movie.
Those guys, yeah.
They don't miss.
It's just Parent Guide. There's some themes in there that we don't necessarily agree with.
Correct.
But for the movie, it's a great movie.
And it does have a good message aside from those.
Aside from gender or stuff with the main character, it's a good movie.
The themes of growing up and learning how to relate with your family as you grow up.
That's not what we're talking about, though. We're back, but I wanted to say
that's a great movie.
It's a great
so
movie.
we've pretty much got one left, and then it's kind of that's the end of the list from when I had done this during that time. So then you have a few that are more recent, but the last one is Coco that I have here listed.
Oh my gosh, I forgot about Coco.
Yeah,
Coco was good.
Yep, I gave it a B+.
I'd probably stick with a B+.
I would say an
A.
Because music was good, story was really good, animation was stellar.
A lot of sadness in Coco.
Yes.
Of course, it's literally the whole thing.
It's sadness that is turned around in the end.
Yes. What is the other Hispanic themed movie?
Encanto.
I enjoyed Encanto.
So Encanto is part of this next group.
I did not think I would like Encanto.
I enjoyed it.
I related to that movie a lot.
I think if Coco is one that if we were scrolling and then Coco was on, I'd watch it.
Yeah.
Yep. Agreed. So here are some of the, and so truth be told, this is where I've missed the mark on a few. I have not seen a lot of these newer ones. So you have like Soul, Raya and the Last Dragon, Luca.
Soul was good.
Soul's good.
I didn't see Luca.
I didn't see Luca
You
either.
should go watch Soul.
Okay.
It deals with death, but it's in the world of jazz musicians. It's a guy trying to make it as a musician, and spoiler alert, he dies, and it's this whole thing about it. You would enjoy it, I think. Name some other ones. I didn't see Luca.
I didn't see Luca. I heard Raya and the Last Dragon was actually pretty good. I never saw it.
Yeah, I heard it was.
Ryan the Last Dragon.
Mhm.
It just kind of got dropped on Disney Plus. It was mid-COVID.
Yeah.
I feel like that happened with Elemental. Like when Elemental dropped, I was like, I don't even know this movie was coming out.
Yeah.
Mhm. Yep. And then honestly, I never saw Lightyear, the new Buzz Lightyear.
didn't either.
I didn't either. But that's pretty much
had
it.
some political implications that made me not want to watch it.
Well, for a second, I thought when I heard what the story was like I thought it was going to be something. They were like, "Oh no, this is like this is the movie that Andy watched that the toy is based on." I was like, "Oh, if y'all just made this actual like the Buzz Lightyear toy is based on this guy or something, that can be cool." But it's like they made it way too complicated. From what I heard.
I've talked to Jake, who's seen it, and he ended up liking it. I think, based on like him telling me the entire plot, I'll tell you exactly what happened. Somebody had a script for a movie they wanted to make, and then Disney was like, "Make it Buzz Lightyear, and you got a movie."
Well, there you go.
They pretty much just, and they were wrong to do that because it doesn't really mesh. But someone had
it should have been like Ricky the Space Ranger.
It didn't even really need to do a space ranger because the movie is about learning to accept your mistakes. That's basically the ultimate theme, and it just kind of felt like they slapped Buzz Lightyear in there just to get brand recognition.
You know what I did enjoy? The animated series Buzz Lightyear. Did you ever watch
Star
that?
Command?
Yeah,
I don't know what it's
love
called.
Buzz Lightyear Star Command.
It was great.
Patrick Warburton.
Yep.
Yeah,
Kronk.
yeah.
Oh.
He did some voice work on that one.
Yeah, he's wonderful.
Yep, that was great. Those early like '90s, 2000s Disney cartoons.
You would
Some
talk
of the
another
best.
one I liked? The Mighty Ducks. Where they
But say
were-
now you're getting into your Little Giants,
Where they
or some of these
were-
other Disney movies that were live
No,
action.
but I'm talking about
Like the superhero
the
Mighty Duck?
superhero
I
Mighty Duck.
remember.
They were space rangers. And they were like aliens who drove around. Incredible.
Dark era Disney had some pretty fun stuff. They took some
Yeah.
risks.
Yeah.
It was fun.
And it was awesome.
Yep. So that pretty much does it for animated theatrical release. We can do another episode on direct to DVD releases and all your Lion King 2, 3, Cinderella 2, 3. They're all terrible, but
I didn't love the extra Lion Kings.
Lion King 1.5 is amazing.
Lion King 1.5, when it focuses on Timon and Pumbaa.
It's great.
Was that direct to DVD?
Yeah. I think so.
That probably did.
It was.
They probably could have put that in theaters and it would
Well-
have done really well.
It might have been in theaters. It may have had a theatrical run.
So that pretty much does it.
I think that's great. There was something I was going to say, then you threw me off of 1.5. That made me think about some things. I agree with most of your list.
Yeah.
I think most of them are pretty safe bets. There's
Yeah.
maybe a few in there that I'm sure. Which, as we say that, people are already like angrily
that's
like
the thing.
disagreeing.
You made a good point of saying what were objectively good or bad, and then you had a few that you were like, look, this is just me. I love this movie. And everyone is going to have 3 to 5 of those that are like, look, I just love this movie. And it's just funny that for the three of us, Aladdin just hit differently. Because Lion King probably should have beat it, but it doesn't. And that's just how it goes. And so it's just interesting how that goes. But it's an iconic brand. It's
Yep.
been around forever.
They're going to own us all one day.
That is probably going to happen.
My favorite things, like anytime they buy like a new studio or something, it's Mickey with the Infinity Gauntlet. He's just adding like another brand to it,
Yep.
like ESPN, Fox, Marvel, like just
They just bought Hulu today, I think.
No, they did.
They did.
that Disney Plus subscription just went up to about $18.99.
Yeah.
Yep.
I'm glad that the Hulu keeps the price down. They do the ad Hulu.
Yeah.
Drives me nuts. Because like you pay money for Hulu and you're still watching all these commercials.
Yep.
But it is what it is. Hulu's kind of a sleeper streamer for me.
It's always been my favorite.
It's great.
Yeah.
They grabbed so many shows that you were like I want to watch that, and it's on Hulu.
And it's current. You can
It
watch
is.
like current cable television on Hulu.
The thing about Hulu that locked me in, I don't know why we're talking about Hulu right now, Brooklyn Nine-Nine.
Yep.
I started watching short sub it on YouTube, and I was like, where do you watch Brooklyn Nine-Nine? Got on Hulu, watched the whole thing straight through, and I was like, this is an incredible show.
It's great.
Fantastic. Let's see. What did you give an F to? Anything?
I think like Home on the Range maybe, or Chicken or Chicken Little.
Home on the Range is so good.
Yeah, I don't think
we had a Home on the Range video game. I think it was like on GameCube.
there was, but that was back in the early 2000s when any
Yes.
branded movie
You
got
had
a video game. Yeah.
and the game wasn't bad because you were the cow and you ran around and had fun and like
Yeah.
rocked out and like you had little side missions.
Are you sure you're not thinking of Back at the Barnyard?
But I say the Barnyard game. They did make a Barnyard game.
What is Home on the Range?
That just sounds more like Back at the Barnyard.
I probably am thinking of Back on the
It was two
Barnyard.
very similar properties owned by
Yeah.
the same company
It's
around the same time.
Back at the Barnyard was Nickelodeon, DreamWorks.
Or yeah, I think it was a Nickelodeon show. That's right.
Home on the Range is the 3 women cows.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's that ending train scene.
Yeah.
I've been thinking about 2 completely different movies. That's fantastic. Okay.
Oh, man.
Yeah, Home on the Range is terrible.
Yeah.
I don't even remember that movie. Back at the Barnyard. What a great movie. And that one was terrible.
Yeah.
Yeah, not too many Fs out there. So
Yeah.
they've got a pretty good record.
I mean, yeah, you're just not going to throw out. Disney's not going to throw out a movie that's just terrible.
Yep.
They're going to throw out some that just don't hit and they're not good. But a terrible movie, I can't tell you the last time I saw just a
Yeah, I was trying to
movie.
think. What would be the last F movie that I was like?
Well, it's also hard to make an F tier animated movie
That's
that's
true.
true.
because animation,
It's kind of got its little, yeah.
it's hard to not at least be entertained by animation.
Hmm.
But like
And again, for me, like I said, I'm real laid back. It takes a lot for me
Yeah.
to not like something. For me to be like,
for me to have an F, which is like I'm going to walk out of a movie, it's going to have to be like it's going to have to be a level of inappropriateness that I just can't handle, or something that's just so crazy that I just don't get it. Like, that's probably what's going to make a terrible movie.
I won't walk out of a movie because it's so bad. I'll walk out of a movie because it's inappropriate. But like if I'm sitting in this movie, I'm just like, this movie's terrible. I'm locked in for the whole thing because at the very least, I get to talk to other people about how terrible this movie is, and it makes a good story.
So, according to Jordan's grade scale, the new Doctor Strange movie, it's not new anymore. Because you hate that movie.
I hate that movie.
Where would you rate it? Because I guarantee you Jordan has a grade for it.
I'm never gonna watch it again.
And we're talking about which movie? Say the title.
Multiverse of
Madness.
Madness.
Thank you.
Everything, every choice was wrong. Pretty much every choice was wrong.
You weren't on our Marvel episode, so you get to give some input to this. He hates this movie.
And the cameos made it worse. So it's a D. It's a D plus, D minus in that range.
You wouldn't fail it, but you'd give it definitely a D.
I mean, I consider a D a failure.
What is your opinion?
I don't remember off the top of my head what I have it at.
That's fine.
It is probably middle of the road. I think the initial response was probably the same as yours. I think as a whole, people got what. Now, granted, they did it to themselves. I will say this: they definitely marketed it in a way that's like,
Yeah, that's
you
true.
expect you expect all of this, and then it was like multiverse. We were light on. We were in one multiverse. Not it wasn't too much madness. Like it was more like
Too much madness, not enough multiverses.
exactly. Like spoiler, it's been out for like over a year. Like when the Illuminati, like in the moment you're like, oh, that's cool. Like, oh man, that's crazy. They got Black Bolt from that one show. I'm like, that's pretty cool. And then they do die within like the first 5 minutes.
Completely clowned on him.
And you're kind of like, oh, that's a choice.
Mm-hmm.
And then after, like, I was kind of hoping for more than that. And that definitely, you're the same way. Like, none of that went the way I was expecting it to go. Once I got over that and I've rewatched it once or twice, I can enjoy it a little bit more now that I've processed it. But in the moment, I was kind of the same way. I was kind of like, that was definitely something.
Yeah, the timing that it came out made it even worse. Like it was not received well by fans because you had this whole thing where Loki had just broken the sacred timeline, so we're going into multiverse. Spider-Man had touched on multiverse, like everything. They've been saying like, oh, we're doing multiverse, and everyone at the time was excited about it because that meant like, oh, cool cameos, anything could happen. And then they went to like 3 different universes.
Yeah,
and
pretty much.
basically nothing happened. And it was a huge letdown.
Well, they were piggybacking off WandaVision too, and like throwing all these little Easter eggs in there to make you that the internet just ran absolutely wild with. Now, granted, whether or not they were actually intended for those to take root, when they did, and it didn't meet people's expectations, rightfully so or wrongfully so, it definitely caused a reaction.
Being alive, like watching WandaVision as it was coming out,
was
an
unlike
experience.
it was
because pretty much every week it was like, all right, when's Satan showing up?
Yeah,
Because
pretty
everyone
much.
was expecting Mephisto, and so every week it was like, oh, there's devil imagery there. He's going to show up because he played a big role in the comic book arc that
I was about to say I don't even know who that is.
he's
but
basically Marvel's.
Then
devil.
Quicksilver shows up, and you're like, holy cow, they're bringing in the Fox characters, and then they're like, no, he's just some dude. And you're
Yeah.
like,
that was someone who's not as deep as into it as y'all, but watched WandaVision week to week. It was crazy.
Yeah.
I remember 2 episodes in, I think I called you or texted you, and I was like, "What are we watching here? Like, what is?" And you were like, "Just wait."
Yeah.
Because you had at least an understanding of what was gonna happen, or you at least knew you had to get to Z. I had no clue what Z was, so I was like, "What are we doing here?"
Yeah. Watching it as it was coming out week to week was probably the best part of that show, and then it just kind of
it definitely, they did not stick the landing.
no, not at all.
Did you read the Variety article that came out yesterday?
No.
So it was a big article Variety posted about basically the Marvel's last year or so with the Jonathan Majors stuff and all of his legal battles, and the fact that they've talked about like trying to correct course to like bring in Doctor Doom to like replace him or all these different things, and it's just really interesting just talking about it as a whole, like all their VFX problems and work.
Dr. Doom, like
yeah,
Fantastic Four, Doctor Doom.
Yeah.
They own him now.
So interesting.
Yeah,
Anyway,
but it is funny that they have like chosen like they have this big issue with this guy. Like, do we recast him? Do we not? It's like you've literally written the one scenario that you can logically get a new actor in there. It's not Don Cheadle showing up in Iron Man 2 and with Terrence Howard used to be. You can and just saying, hey, it's me.
That was a wild ride.
And that wasn't even as big at the time when people were like, oh, it was this big contract dispute thing. Now it's like you literally have established that there can be different characters of a different actor.
But they really shot themselves in the foot because they portrayed that all of the different versions of
yeah,
this character are Jonathan Majors.
Yeah, so which is a shame
too.
Kang.
Oh, there's issues with him.
Yeah, we don't have to get into all that.
Domestic violence.
Yay!
So the big trial's like coming up this next month or so, and it's like he claims he's innocent, he claims he's the victim being set up. It's a whole thing.
It's a whole thing.
There's a really bad video, or it wasn't bad, but it was funny. Did you see the video of him stopping that fight a few weeks ago?
No.
So there's a video that came out about him stopping a fight that got out to the press. It looks like the most hokey, acted out. Like they're trying to get him as decent.
Doing fisticuffs.
Basically, he's like, whoa, guys, let's not do this. And they basically like, you're right, sir. We're sorry. Like, and it's like everybody's like, because there's stories about his lawyers doing all these things, and like his lawyers are just comically bad at being lawyers, despite him being a very high profile actor. And so people are like, they absolutely would have done this for good publicity for him. But it'll be interesting to see how it shakes out. Loki has been a breath of fresh air. I'm very much enjoying Loki season 2.
I haven't watched it.
Oh, there's a season 2. It came out.
We're episode 5 is tonight. Episode 4 ended on a huge cliffhanger, and I'm excited to see where it goes tonight.
Is Owen Wilson still in it?
Yes.
Yeah, he's still Owen Will, still whispering, still.
Wow.
Wow.
All right, Steven, land this plane. I always do this to him. It makes him. He hates it.
What would you give Planes as a rating? The movie. I think it is a Disney. Is Planes a Disney movie?
Gotta be.
It is.
It is.
I mean, it's
Planes
cars.
is in
But
That's how we land. That's how we land. That's how.